Hey, my friend, happy Thursday. Thankful Thursday. Emily here. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so thankful for Facebook and for social media so that we can chat and you can really talk and get to know so much more people. So that's really how I wanted to start today, just with a thankful. Today's topic is tips to help you in your business. So the question is, and I know all the gurus have asked you, how do you make your resolutions actually stick? So let me start with the question. How many of you have already asked yourself, what can I do, or this is going to be my year to move forward in my business, right? How many of you have already done that? I have definitely done that. Now let me ask you another question. How many of you have done that with the same exact goals for more than 1 year? Been there too. So that being said, why do we continue to feel the need to make resolutions when we know that the statistics say that most quit? Why? Because we understand that we need to change, and we understand that we need to change in order to move forward in our business, whatever it is, whether you're in online, affiliate, network marketing, or anything in marketing in general online. You understand the need to move forward. So how do you actually make them stick? Most people have already quit, right? I was at the gym the other day and theirs doesn't even start until the end of January, which I thought was a bummer. I'm like, why do I have to wait to start? They're like, oh, because most people have already quit. So we've discovered if we wait until they quit and get them to start over, they're more likely. And I'm like, that is terrible. Like, they've already quit, but that is the reality. So why do we continue to make them? All right, so the word resolution in general, when you make a resolution, is to change your thinking, specifically about the future, right? So I had someone that I was sharing with within our community, and we were talking about, what about instead of a resolution, you make a revolution? So make 2020 your revolution year, right? So instead of making those intentions to move forward, not that there's anything wrong with that, make a revolution. So what is a revolution? Well, revolution is to, basically the general term is overthrow a government. Well, all right, maybe that's not completely applicable, but you could say that you are overthrowing your thinking or your habits, your daily habits, whatever it is that's keeping you stuck where you are, right? So if you've said that, yes, you've said before, that you've made a New Year's resolution or intention or goal or whatever to move forward in your business, and specifically if you've made that more than once, then this is definitely for you. All right, so hopefully I have some tips that I wanted to share with you guys. So we talked about a revolution, which means to overthrow your thinking. But what are you at war with, right? If it's not, you're at war with yourself, right? How many of you have seen those? I see them more and more often, which is awesome. It's stop competing with other people. You're really at war with yourself. You're trying to beat yesterday's self. And I see them a lot in regards to the gym, but there's so many. It can be applied basically anywhere, right? I was listening to a podcast this week about a guy who was talking about basically getting through a mental challenge. And so I was looking at the rules, and a lot of them were physical challenges. And he said that one of his critics said, well, why is this a mental challenge if a lot of these are physical? And he said, because a lot of mental, toughness is derived from all of these conditions that are not within your control. I thought it was a really great podcast. If you're interested, it's strong language, but it's really good. And it's talking about your mental toughness and how do you actually change it. So even though the goals and the rules for the days were in a large part disciplines, right? That's basically what they are. A lot of them were physical. But he assures and kept reiterating the fact that no, this was actually a mental challenge. So if you were going to have a revolutionary year instead of a resolution year, then you are technically at war with yourself. You need to change those thoughts. So tip number 1 that I have for you today is to change your thinking, change your mentality of how you do things. So for instance, let's look at some of the popular, New Year's resolutions. All right, so I don't know if this is as much anymore, and I'm in California, so maybe I'm out of it. But, if you quit smoking, and one of my friends made this point, and she said, well, a main difference in your change of thinking would be if a smoker says, well, I'm trying to quit smoking, right? Versus another who goes around saying, I am not a smoker. They have already changed their thinking into that they are not a smoker, and they're taking that struggle out of it. I have used that before in the gym when people say like, oh, I'm trying to lose whatever, right? Instead of I am healthy, or I am getting healthy, or I am trying to get healthy. Well, okay, so what does that look like, right? So instead of identifying as, oh, I don't eat that, or I don't eat sugar, or I don't, whatever it is. And it applies to everything, because your thinking is where it all starts, right? I mean, it really is. If you are, instead of saying, I'm trying to move forward in my business, what if you say, this year, I am going to move forward? I am whatever it is. Which phrase sounds more powerful to you? One is identifying with the struggle of it, which almost sounds like you're indecisive, which is a large part of whether or not you decide to change your habits. The other is affirming what you want, okay? So that brings me into the second tip, which is identifying what it is that you want, that you need to be, that you need to change. What's that saying? Dress for the job you want, not the job that you have, right? Clearly, I've been dressing for that job my whole life. Work from home in your sweats. No, but identify with what you want. Instead of saying, I am struggling to move forward, you might say, I am qualifying for, director or team leader, or, whatever it is. My husband is a fireman, and they work on whatever their next level. And I like it because they say, instead of saying like, I'm trying to get to captain, their position is actually acting captain, even before they're actually there. One of my pet peeves is, people saying, oh, I'm a hot mess. So you're identifying as being a hot mess instead of saying like, I am organized. And it's not about the perfection. It's not that you're saying like that you're perfect by saying that you're organized. But why on earth would you want to identify with the struggle? That just doesn't make any sense, right? You're identifying with what you already want. The I am in that statement is super powerful in making this year revolutionary for whatever you want. And you might be like, what the heck does this have to do with my business? It has everything to do with your business. That is why all of, the experts and the gurus and the whatever, the self-help book is like the biggest section now, because people understand that to change, they have to change, right? I mean, I definitely, and it's constant. So you're like, well, why do I have to do this every year? Well, because you level up every year, right? So this year it might be, to crush whatever, $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month. Next year it might be something completely different. It might not even be business related. You might have, a different priority or mindset, but identifying with what you want already with that I am, instead of with the struggle, like, oh, if only I could do this, or if, you're just sitting in it already, and that's how you are identifying yourself. And that energy reads out. So if you're trying to share your product or your business or your story or, whatever it is, your opportunity, people read that energy, and you choose every single day what your mentality is going to be. So you're in complete control of this. You choose those affirmations. If you are doubting yourself and self-belief is a thing for you, that needs to be on your list. Well, how do I change it? By saying it. Those words are super powerful. And when you change your identity and how you identify yourself in those goals moving forward, it's super powerful. I think that we haven't even tapped into the potential of when we say I am, and it's followed by whatever it is that you want, and already identifying that. So number 3, the tip I would have for you would be to change your accountability. Now, this is a tough one when you are your own boss and you work from home, and you might say, well, I'm in network marketing and I have an upline, or I have a sponsor, or I have a buddy, or whatever. But if you're an affiliate or online marketing, sometimes it can be a lonely place when you move into the online. So you have to change your accountability, because without accountability, there really is little follow through. Think about all of the things that you've had where you've had, maybe a deadline or a project due, or even guests coming over. Like, I'm a pretty neat housekeeper, but let me just tell you, if someone's coming over, especially if it's like my mom or my mother-in-law, right, or my like close family, I want it even cleaner than that. That deadline is looming, and that house will be clean. So like I said, it's not about the perfection of it. It's about the process. It's about the journey of it. Because when you have that accountability and that deadline, you make it happen, right? Like if you're giving a presentation and you've set that up, chances are you're not going to show up without knowing what the heck you're going to talk about. You're going to be prepared. You're going to have that. You're going to get the work done that it takes to do it. Recently, I ran a half a marathon. And to run a half marathon, I've never run a full. I have no intentions of running a full. Not good for me. But if you have, you know, and you understand, you can't show up on race day not having done any of those miles. You have to put the work in and the steps in ahead of time. And how do you do that? Well, I had a running buddy, and let me just tell you, that was definitely an accountability buddy for me, because if it's raining, you run. If it's cold or dark or whatever, you run. And there were many days where I understood, like, if she hadn't shown up to run with me at a set date and time and place, then I wouldn't have done it. And so that is one of the biggest things that you need to move that, is to have a set date, time. The more that you can have in place, the more likely it is to happen, whatever it is. So whether it's a rank advancement, or if you're, if it's an income goal, or if it's just, putting in the work for it. Like I had a team member this week say, I don't care about the income. I know that if I do the activity that will follow. Okay, but that's great. But then, I'm going to do an event, or I'm going to host an online series. I'm going to do a webinar. I'm going to do a blog, or I'm going to get my ad out. When is your deadline that you're actually going to make that happen? Because people depend on that, right? And you can't expand your influence if you haven't set that date or time, right? I was talking about this with another friend of mine who builds online, and we were talking about the importance of building on social media. Well, here's the thing. I don't like commitments any more than you do. And it's difficult. Part of the reason usually why you want to build online is because you want that flexibility. However, that being said, if you say that you're going to show up, then you need to show up. It's like trying to tune into the TV at a set date and time only to find out that your show or your favorite show is not there. You want people to be able to rely on you. You don't want to be flaky, right? Nobody wants that. So if you are trying to build online and you're like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm posting, whatever. If you're not doing lives, how else are people supposed to get to know you? So if you want to get your product or your opportunity or your brand or your influence or whatever it is of value that you're sharing within your business, whatever it is, service or product that you offer in your business, you have to be accountable to that. Set the date, set the time, show up, post regularly, whatever it is that you're doing to build it. Finish the blog, run the ad, and be there. Be there for people so that you can have that accountability. Because the more likely that you, or the more of those that you set, the more likely you are to do those, right? So get all of the specifics that you can. You are actually, I think it is like 80% more likely to actually follow through if you have that, which is so true. So there's a couple. You can be purposeful and intentional in a couple of different ways. So you can set the date and the time or whatever, right? Like tomorrow, okay, I'm going to go to spin class. I'm going to go, I know what city and what studio I'm going to. Nowadays, especially boutique gyms, you have to sign up ahead of time, on the app. And I'm actually meeting a friend tomorrow. So like there's no chance that I'm going to cancel, and many now will charge you if you cancel, right? In too short of amount of time, which is all good. Why? Because it makes sure that you are more likely to follow through and do what you said. So how can you apply this to your business? Well, first of all, if you don't have a DMO, you need one. DMO, Daily Method of Operations. What are your daily non-negotiables? And I know I've done this in previous lives, but what are your daily non-negotiables for producing? And I'm not talking about reading a book, although that's good, right? What are you doing to connect with people every single day? Hopefully, it's not hounding people and spamming them and messaging them over and over and sending your link. It's basically spamming, right? We've moved beyond that. That's completely outdated. But when you do your daily method of operations, you need to be very purposeful and very intentional. And if you combine that with changing that mindset, reaffirming your identity in yourself, and you add that accountability, you absolutely will be on fire to crush 2020. And one of the things that keeps coming up in conversations with people this last week is, well, what does it mean to like crush 2020? It doesn't mean that you're going to go from like, I don't know, $200, hopefully you're making at least that, right? $500, $800 in your business to multiple six figures. No, there is a progression, and there's a lot of work in those steps. And it's funny, a lot of times we look at the beginning and what needs to happen, and we look at the end of where we want to be, and we forget about the work that has to come in between. We forget about the work that has to happen. We forget about, finding that accountability. A lot of times if we're helping people, we help them in the very beginning, and we maybe help our rock stars who've met the end, and we completely forget about the middle of the, everybody else. It's like 97% of the population is probably stuck somewhere in the center. So be purposeful, be intentional with setting that. Get people to hold you. If you're already crushing this, level up, right? And that's what I love about our online community, because there's people in there that when I first got in, was super intimidated. I mean, they are crushing it is an understatement, but yet they are always showing up, producing, and doing exactly what they say to do. So, when you're following or you have someone, what do they say? You are the 5 people that you hang around. Hang around people who you aspire to be, because let me tell you, it starts to rub off, and it matters. It absolutely matters, because inside this community particularly, I mean, every single one of them are rock stars within their own right. And yet they're always on the cutting edge of, what is still applicable? How can I level up? How can I better myself? How can I, revolutionize this year? And that gets harder sometimes when you get to that level. It's hard to find people who will actually hold you, to that level. But it's still important that we hold each other to a standard. So maybe that's your intentions for 2020. Maybe your desire is to join an online, marketing or ad affiliate marketing, or join network marketing, or just learn about online marketing at all in general. Whatever it is, just remember that changing your mind, changing your vocabulary, changing your identity, how you identify yourself, even into what you do. Like when people join in the very beginning in their business, just saying they're in business for themselves, for some people is extremely difficult, because they still identify maybe with whatever their main, because for a lot of people, this is a side gig, right? It's a side job. And that's great, that's fine. But when people ask what you do, are you hesitant, or have you positioned yourself to where you are really confident in how you answer what it is that you do? And I struggled with this for years, y'all. Seriously. Like, what is it that you do? I don't know. What is it that I do? It was like, I don't know. And then it kind of changed, and then it would keep changing, and then it would keep changing. And it was like, okay, well, I am my own person, but I work with this, but I'm affiliated with this, but I work under, it's like, okay, so whatever it is, decide. Change your identity, find an accountability buddy, find your person, and make it a revolutionary, 2020. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. I realize there's many people out there that you can watch. Hopefully this resonated with you. If you have a specific goal for 2020 and you'd like to share it either here or share it with me personally, I'd love that. If you know someone that might benefit from watching them, maybe they're like, oh, I don't know how to make these stick, feel free to share this video. If you're watching in the replay, let me know, #replay. But you can do this. Stop those negative self-talk. Start with those affirmations, change your belief, and tell yourself, I got this. I know that you got this. Okay, guys, hopefully you found this helpful. I will see you guys next week. Get out there and crush it. See ya. Bye.